Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Outpost Review. Every time I went to the lumber yard, I picked up a little bit of extra. This is actually what's going to be my trim, and I've said this before, the reason that I didn't mill that lumber is because of the shrinkage that you have in diameter, and I didn't really want to put up any trim to only later end up having some gaps. So if I was going to buy any, it would be my trim. Anyway, I've got some what are considered 1x6s, which are basically 5.5 by 3/4. I've got 4 of those that I'm going to cut up into 3/4 inch wide strips. That'll give me 3/4 by 3/4. That's what I'm going to do my long runs in, up next to the beam between the sheetrock and so forth, and then down the post. And then I've got some 1x4s that I actually going to use up against the ceiling, because when I was originally putting the roof on this cabin, we used a wedge piece at the very on the outside perimeter. That way we didn't have to cut out the bird's mouth. We basically used that, and I cut the purlins at an angle, and then I cut the main center beam at an angle. So that gave us 3 areas that we could actually nail to and get a real good flat footing. And then I also put in 2x4 pieces in between the rafters, which I nailed in sideways on the edge at the purlin, and then up top I used a piece where I brought the 2 up like this. I put a piece across and I nailed that in, so it ended up being very secure. And so these 1x4s, I need to cover that wedge piece that goes around the perimeter, and so that is the only piece that will be the widest piece, which will be covering the upper portion up next to the top of the overhead beam. Anyway, I think that I have enough here that I can actually go around and probably mill or cut this up on the table saw, like I said, 3/4 inch strips, because I think I'm going to get 7, is that right? 2, 4, 6, maybe 6 pieces out of each one of the 1x6s. I didn't really count up how many I need. I was just kind of guessing at it. But if I need a few more, I'll go ahead and purchase those. But what I'm going to do is I'll end up burning those and then staining them like I did the outside right here. I've actually got some of these pieces left, but these are actually 1 inch, and I didn't really want to put the 1 inch up next as trim pieces, because it would have come out almost flush with the beams, and I wanted to keep the original structure exposed as much as possible. So I decided to go ahead and use these trim pieces, plus I don't have the shrinkage effect. And I'll probably end up using these elsewhere because I do have quite a few of these left over. But I think that, you know, this store-bought lumber will look good on the trim, and because it's going to turn out just like the windows that I did on the outside, the trim, and just like the trim that I did inside the bedroom that you all have seen. So it's all going to, you know, blend in really well and look good. And I've almost got the rock wall laid here on the front. Let me show you. I got this far the other day when it was raining so hard, but primarily I'm close to being about 1/3 of the last section done. Now once I get around laid to the end and around that corner post, and I still have to do that post down there on the end, then I'm ready to start milling up the lumber for the front porch. This area right here is going to get 2x10s. It'll actually go all the way around so that they match, and I'm going to have to go through and cut these battens off to be able to attach that. My joists are going to run this way, and that'll make the porch run long way with the house. I will have some shrinkage on the decking that I put up there, but I will put them up, I will butt them up as tight as possible, and they will probably shrink anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4 on each one, so I could end up with 1/4 to 1/2 inch gap you know, possibly. Not saying that that's so, it just depends on the wood, but it will be enough to sweep dirt in the cracks, and it will be sufficient, you know, as a deck for the front porch, because, you know, primarily that's the way that they used to do it, right? And of course, then the handrail, I'm going to do just like I did this and up there at the outdoor kitchen. I'm just going to cut some of the limbs from the tops that I've got. I will make spindles out of these for the front porch so that all three of them match. And I really like the way that these spindles turn out. You know, they're crooked. They, you know, are still the whole tree, and it's rough. It looks rugged, and it just makes everything look, you know, old-timey. So that's the way that I'm going to build a handrail on the front porch. And then, of course, you know, the steps will be a regular set of steps. But anyway, it's all coming together really good, and I should be able to get the rock finished before winter. It does take a little bit of time, you know, but if I just do a little bit, you know, of it every now and then, it doesn't get so monotonous for me. And you know, it does allow me to do other projects too, where I can film and, you know, kind of do a change up here and there, and everything is not the same thing for, you know, several weeks. But let me take you inside and show you something else that's coming up. It's not going to be long, and fall's going to be here, so I think one of my next projects in the very near future is I'm going to need to go ahead and get the stove ready for fall, especially, you know, at nights when the temperature drops up here in the mountains. So what I'm going to have to do is get some help to take this apart. I'm going to have to set it off to the side, and then I'm going to have to lay a square foundation right here that the stove will sit on. Probably I'll do it a little bit larger than what this base is. That way, if I ever change stoves, the next one should fit, because this one is fairly large. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I will mix up some mortar. I will lay those stones here. I'll go up the side of what this base is going to be, and then I will lay them up the back right here. I will mill out some trim that will actually go up this side right here, because it's actually going to be, you know, offset. But yeah, this is going to be coming up in the really near future, because it's not going to be long, like I say, till we have to start building a fire at night. And I've got a piece of this 1x4. I'll show you what I was talking about outside on this trim up top. This right here is the back side of the wedge that we actually put in on the perimeter. So it goes from, it's actually 7 inches wide, and it's cut on a 21-degree angle, because that is the angle of my roof line. Anyway, so this 1x4, I will have to mill this in order to match the angle, but this is going to go up like this, and of course this will touch that right there, and then this will provide me trim that will go all the way from one end to the other. I will have to notch out around these posts right here where it will actually sit inside right there, but this will give me something that I can actually bring my slab wood to when I come down right here. And this, like I said, will end up being finished trim. Now this is the only area that this is going to happen right here. The rest of it will look like this. Now the other is going to look like this right here, which will come down the corner, but will still give me about an inch or so of my original structure that people will be able to see. I didn't want to come out here too flush, because, you know, it just is going to take away. So I decided to, like I said, cut these 3/4 inch strips. That was the cheapest way to go about it, was to buy a 1x6 and just cut that. And I will tack this in. Now right up here in the corner, what I've got in mind is I'm going to take a 2x8, and I'm going to cut this at an angle right here, okay? And then I will router out the back side to be able to cover that bracket. And then this will, if you can envision this, let's say that that's it right there, this trim will come up and meet that right there. Now this will be a little bit thicker because it's going to be, like I said, a 2x8, but it'll kind of give the effect of some crown molding. And like I said, this will be cut on a diagonal right there. So I will have something actually covering that, and then that trim coming down. So I think that that's going to look really good. So I think once I get this in place, it's all going to come together even that much more. There's going to be a lot of trim in here, and there's going to be a lot of exposed beams, and the angle iron you'll still be able to see on the interior that doesn't follow a wall somewhere, because the ones that follow the wall, I do have to cut that out and cover that hole where I had to cut out everything, you know, the drywall and all that, in order to go around that piece of angle iron. But the inside structure, where it doesn't have a wall, you'll still be able to see the metal brackets. So there's quite a few of those left, more so up overhead, but you'll still be able to not only see the angle brackets, but you'll be able to see all of the exposed beams with very little trim, you know, meeting that or hiding a whole lot of that. So that was one reason I went with this. And you know, the trim that you can buy, small trim, it was just, you know, so expensive and outrageous. That's the reason that I bought a 1x6, and I just decided that I'm just going to rip it, you know, 3/4 of an inch wide, and I'll use that as trim to go around. But this will burn and stain a whole lot lighter than the poplar, which is basic structure of this cabin. So this will kind of offset that, and it will tie in with the door frames and the window frames and all that, and it'll look really good. So I'm excited about, you know, getting this moving forward with getting a lot of the trim in place in here. I know it's kind of dark in here, but it is lightening up every time we're able to put up some sheetrock, and then once we get it painted, it just brightens everything up in here, because the light just bounces off of that to the inside. So once we get it all covered with sheetrock, that's going to help a lot about lighting up the inside of the cabin. But we did get all of the sheetrock all the way to the end of the cabin on this first section here. Now there's basically 4 rows lengthwise. So we decided that what we were going to do is just put up, you know, 6, 7, 8 pieces at a time, because it just wears you out trying to hold that up there on an angle and get it screwed in because of the weight, because I'm using 1/2 inch sheetrock to help hold that R19, because when you put that venting in, that styrofoam venting, it causes it to push out just a little bit. And I wasn't going to use the R13, so I went ahead and stayed with the R19, and it just helps to hold it better without any waving. And then once I get those strips put in those joints right there, which has saved me a whole lot of taping and mudding actually, because I'm just doing the screw heads in the middle. But once I get those 1x4s on there, that will help hold everything else up there, and I think it's really going to look good. It'll kind of give the effect of a beam. But anyway, yeah, we've got this section, so the next time the guys, you know, have a chance to come up and help me, we'll run that next section. Then that is, this half will be done. I've already got 1/3 of the following section done up top, and then we'll just leave that other bottom section on the front of the cabin to get the whole ceiling done. Basically, I still have to do this gable end over here because I have this one done, and I am debating on whether to actually finish that room off in there outside of just putting insulation before winter, but we'll just have to see. You know, I don't think that I'm going to suffer if I don't. But everything is coming along. You know, now I had a lot of plans that I wanted to do this year, but with the garden and with everything that was going on, it just seems like, you know, one guy alone on the hill, pretty much most of the time, you probably think about getting more done than you can actually do. But still yet, you know, we've been able to accomplish a whole lot. It's coming together great, and so far, you know, we really haven't had any hiccups with the cabin. Haven't had any, you know, issues with it settling or really anything changing, basically. I did manage to get the third coat of mud in here in the bathroom done, so all that needs to be done now is sanded, and then it's ready for painting. And like I said, this will also get those 3/4 inch strips. The upper portion right there, since it's an outside wall, will get those triangle pieces that I talked about up there. And of course I have to do around the window trim, and then I have to trim around the door. But you know, everything in here is pretty much ready to be sanded and painted. And then if I get rid of that tiny house, probably what I'll end up doing is use this room, you know, as a storage temporarily till I can get a lot of the rest of the house done. Because I do have that outdoor toilet out there that I can use, and that's what this is basically the bathroom. So I'll be able to store, you know, quite a bit of that stuff in here and be able to move around still and work on the house. I mean, I still have to move stuff because that spare bedroom has things packed in it, but like I said, slowly but surely, moving things around, doing a little work here and a little work there, it's all coming together. So, you know, it's exciting to be able to be this close to getting something major like this complete. Still, of course, there's still a lot to do. I still have to, you know, go and put all the receptacles in. I have to get the solar power going. I have to get the water going. You know, I have to work on building the kitchen, you know, putting in the drains and things like that, which may not happen until next year, but because I can always carry water over the winter. I can always go to my sister's house and take a shower. So, you know, it's not that imperative that I get some of that stuff put in. But like I said, you know, every day is a step forward, and it's all coming together. And like I said, we really haven't had any hiccups, so we're pretty excited about it. I still also have to mill the joist for rafters for up overhead here, so I can hang the sheetrock up here. But that will be the only mudding and taping that I'll have to do left in the bathroom is just the ceiling portion right there. But every day is a step forward, and it's all coming together. I did go to my sister's house yesterday. I put these barrels on the trailer. Actually, these barrels they're 55-gallon drums. They probably weigh what, a little over 400 pounds a piece. So I think that's exceeding really the weight what this trailer can or should haul. But this trailer, I try to keep it reserved for hauls that I make, you know, in and out of town. I have taken my 18-foot trailer, but this one's smaller and easier to maneuver. The only thing is, I don't want to get that 18-foot trailer hooked up where it's a little bit harder to move around up here as well. So I use this, and I've got 4 barrels of water here, which should be enough to finish the cabin, the rock. I can't remember. I think it was 1 barrel that I used on the front from top to bottom. I can't say that for sure, but if I need some more, I'll go get it. But I was thinking, you know, if it took 1 barrel, then I've got 4 because the sides are shorter than the length of the cabin. So this should be enough to do me, and what I'll do is I'll just, you know, hook this up to the tractor, back it up to where I'm going to use it, and then I've got my hose right here that I can just pull it off and, you know, wash my rock off. But yeah, it's really handy to be able to have these barrels and this pump to move water where you need it. I picked up some guttering right here the other day, and I've got actually 4 10-foot pieces. What I thought I would do is start out with 1 on each side of the kitchen up there, and 1, possibly maybe 2 up there at the chicken house. I don't think I'm going to need that much for the chickens because they don't require that much. But I got a couple of downspouts, and then I got the accessories to close off the end. I got some 90s and so forth, and my intentions are to use a 5-gallon bucket, or if I can find maybe a 30-gallon up there, and run this off in with an overflow at the top, piece of screen, you know, to basically keep a lot of the trash from coming down on in the inside. And then I've got some small nipples that one of the subscribers sent to me that I'll show you here in just a second, that I'm going to plumb in with a piece of PVC so that the chickens can get water and I don't have to continue to carry water up there. But this is a project that will come on a little bit later. I just set these back here, you know, out of the way, but I think that that's going to really be cool. So let me show you these nipples I'm talking about. Well, how this works, he actually sent me 6 of these, but this will basically screw in right here. And I guess, because there's really no instructions, but this little plastic piece in here, I guess when the water starts filling up, it starts to float and actually cuts the water off. But this is a piece of 1/2-inch pipe, and that will be able to go right there. So what I'll do is I'll end up cutting quite a few of these, and I will plumb these in line, and then there will be 6 different locations that the chickens can actually go up there and get water. And I will plumb this into, like I said, that 5-gallon bucket, and that should be able to provide them with water. And as much rain as we get, I won't have to be, you know, constantly carrying water up there. I still have to carry the feed, but I won't have to carry water. Now, the only issue is in the wintertime, with this little thing right here freezing up, I will probably have to disconnect that and take it in, or just disconnect it and make sure that it's drained where it doesn't, you know, fill up, freeze, and bust. But I can carry water, you know, throughout the winter time up there enough, as long as, because we don't have that much winter, only a couple months of it, and then the rest of the months be able to utilize this right here where they can actually get water, and I won't have to carry it up there to them. So I really appreciate him sending these. I thought it was a unique idea, and it's kind of cool. This thing looks like it probably snaps off from there. Let's see. Oh yeah, that little cup comes right off. So I guess you could, you know, if you ever had issues with it, you could just replace that portion right there. But anyway, yeah, so these are really cool for watering, you know, fowl, I guess. Any type of bird with a beak. I guess you could still do ducks with it too, since they have a beak that's a little bit more flat. I don't know, some of them probably wouldn't be able to get their beak in there, but yeah, I really do appreciate those. You know who you are for sending these. It's just been a little bit of time before I've actually got to this with everything that's going on here. I'll tell you, there's never a shortage of something to do around here. Somebody said, you know, when you get all your buildings built, you're not going to have anything left to do. I'll tell you what, when you're living on a homestead, there's always something to do. You know, it's the garden, it's wood, it's feeding the animals, it's the dogs, it's taking them to the creek, you know, keeping the weeds knocked down with a weed whacker, working on the field down there. That's going to be a major job too, to try to reclaim that field. So there's never a shortage of anything to do. So I hope you guys are enjoying, you know, what's going on up here at the homestead. You know, I basically, the way that we're filming, it's, you know, it's kind of like the lifestyle going on up here, because there's a lot of projects, but, you know, in between that time you have so much else to do. And, you know, it's kind of nice to be able to watch people live an off-grid life and the things that they have to do in order to maintain what you would consider normal. You know, used to just run to the tap, you know, turn the faucet and the water would come on because you were hooked up to the grid. But that's not so here. Right now I'm carrying water, and I have to carry water. You know, I have to wash the dishes, so I have to heat up the water out here on the stove to wash the dishes. I have to build a fire when I want to come out and make coffee or tea, which is not, it's actually fun. You know, it's like camping all year round. but things that, you know, you take for granted, just like running and turning on a light switch. Well, I have those power units. Thank goodness the company sent me those, because it's quite a bit of money to get hooked up to a solar system, and I didn't know that those actually existed until they sent me or reached out to us about, you know, doing a review. And so we're like, sure. And I tell you that they have been a lifesaver up here off grid. So, you know, there's always a way to film, you know, what, like I said, that you would take for granted, like I was going to say a while ago about turning that light switch on and then having power. That's what I use. The lanterns, I have those as backup in case, you know, something happened and I couldn't get out and I wasn't able to recharge those. I do need to get some solar panels to be able to recharge those things, but you know, I've also got, like I said, those lanterns where I can have light. And so slowly but surely, you know, everything's coming together. It's still probably going to be another year before I can kind of get the cabin situated to where it's operable with all the amenities and things that you would consider normal. Even though I'm still, you know, off grid, but I'll have things hooked up to what, like I said, what you would consider normal, to be able to flip a switch and turn on a faucet and things like that. But anyway, I think it's about time to see if I can answer a few questions. One guy wrote to me and said that he uses paddles on the corner. Basically, it's a piece of like 1x4 or 1x2 that he's got screwed in. That way when he lifts the drywall up there, he can just basically take and turn it, and it helps hold the weight on that end until he can get the other end fastened. So I think that's a good idea that I may try to incorporate in what I'm doing, because I see the advantage of that, how that can help. The thing about getting a jack stand is I've got so much stuff in the way that I would constantly have to be moving stuff just to be able to roll it. So, you know, I don't know. It seems like with 3 people that it goes a whole lot quicker. You know, we do have to move the ladders, but I'm at a disadvantage of having all of the beams, you know, that I've got in the way, which, you know, a normal home like that, I don't know, I guess I see it as being at a disadvantage of having to not only maneuver it around on the floor with so much stuff to move. I mean, I still have to move it for the ladders, but you know, I don't know, getting that stuff up there and on an angle, I don't know if it would be awkward or not getting it up there that high. But you know, so far it's working with the 3 of us okay. So we may just go ahead and stick with that. But like I said, I do have those beams there where I could possibly take and put those pieces that we're talking about and just put 1 screw in them. That way it will hold the weight of it. So that was a good idea. Thanks for that comment. Someone else wrote, you know, whose dog is the chocolate lab? Well, you know, if it wasn't mine, it wouldn't be staying around here. I would run it off. But, you know, because, you know, I wouldn't want Smokey following another dog off somewhere. But she is one that we picked up about a month ago. These people were going to have to move. Her name is Dolly, and they couldn't take her with them, basically. So we ended up getting her. She's made a good companion, although she's very mischievous and she likes to pilfer into everything. So, you know, I haven't had her that long. I am working on teaching her what no is, but she makes a good companion for Smokey. You know, they play a lot, and it kind of takes a lot of the heat off of me from, you know, trying to set up the cameras to film and the work that I'm doing, because he constantly demands attention. So yeah, she's turned out to be quite a good addition to the Outpost up here, especially, you know, since I had Smokey. Someone else wanted to know, was I wetting the back of the rocks that I was putting on the foundation? I hadn't been, never really had any trouble doing anything like that, but I decided, you know, I would go ahead and try it. What it does do, or what it does help, I have noticed that when I put some on there that's a little bit dry, it kind of makes it you know, a little creamier. So, but you know, I like to mix mine a little bit on the dry side. That way I can pack it in back there. I don't want it mixed up like mud that you would lay brick or block with, because it just seems to not want to hold the rock. It seems like it wants to run out of the joint. So if I can reach in there and pick it up, you know, and it's a little bit firm in my hand, I know that I can actually pack that. And for me, it seems like that works out a whole lot better than it does for it to be a little bit creamier like I was laying block or brick. So you know, I guess to each their own, but I have started wetting the back side of the rock. And you know, also I've said this a couple of times, that with that metal lath that I'm putting on the back side and with those wall ties, I don't believe that that wall is going to go anywhere. What I have already laid, it is concrete. I mean, it is there to stay. So had some comments, you know, after the first winter it'll all be laying on the ground. We'll wait and see. Okay, I'm not a betting man, but I would fare to wager that it's not going to go anywhere. But anyway, let's see what the next comment is. Somebody wrote to me, he said, I learned from you about using the bucket and the straps to put logs on the mill. I have forks, and the straps are much better for putting logs onto the mill. Also, there's much less banging on the mill. You know, I can actually agree with that, because I've seen people using forks before, and you know, once they get the log up there at the mill, they have to turn those forks ever so slowly for that log to roll across. And then, you know, the weight of the log, once it starts rolling, it goes over and hits the other side. You know, if you can lift those logs with straps, I have found that I can pretty much put that log wherever I need to put it. And the forks, you know, they actually make things a lot easier, where there's less effort, where you don't have to get off the tractor. But I don't know, you know, some people, they don't want any effort. Where me, I don't mind it. You know, it helps keep me inside the waistline. But no, I don't think that I would use the forks for the sawmill, putting the logs on there. I could probably use it for other things, you know, getting the logs up here to stack them up. You know, I could use it for that, but I don't think that I want to get the forks anywhere near the sawmill. You know, somebody else said that I enjoy the tool review. I'm constantly trying to learn more about things that will benefit my family and myself. No one knows everything, and we're here on this earth with the brain to learn, so use it. And I agree. You know, I've had some comments, like I said, where people are like they're not interested in the tool review, but you know, if that's so, then you probably you know, wouldn't want to watch this channel, because as long as I can find tools out there that, you know, benefit something that I'm doing up here, even though I may have been doing something you know, one way for a long time, and I find a tool that makes it a lot easier, or find something that's new and interesting and unique, then I'm going to share that with you guys, because a lot of this stuff that I wasn't even aware of until companies reached out to us. So I feel that's worth sharing, because they have helped us out a whole lot up here. So, you know, like that guy said, nobody knows everything. So you can guarantee on this channel, if we run across something, we're going to let you know about it. Anyway guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. My son, my daughter, and I, we really want to thank you for supporting not only this channel, but our main channel, Smoky Mountain Outpost. If you're new to this channel, be sure and go check that one out, because we do monthly giveaways on both channels. Plus on the Outpost channel, that's where we do all of the building up here. And there's a lot less talk, and it's a lot more peaceful watching, where this channel is more behind the scenes. If you're interested in watching more of the Outpost review, I'll have some icons pop up. Be sure to click on the top left hand corner. If you want to watch the most recent video from the Outpost channel, click the bottom left hand corner. Anyway, we hope everyone has a great day. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.